tell us, I mean, you're in Beirut right now. Tell us about how you got there, how you got your media credentials, and what you've seen so far, and how it differs from the view of the war that's being portrayed by Western media.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different from what's being portrayed by Western media, although it's remarkable how very little of what's happening in Lebanon is actually being portrayed by Western media at all. Yeah, I came here because I'd done what I could with helping initiate the case to the ICJ and with lobbying at the UN. And I thought, what can I do next to try to counteract this genocide? And I thought probably obviously I can't get into Gaza. I tried to get into the West Bank and the Israelis won't let me in there. I thought, well, no one could stop me going to Beirut. So I thought I'd come here and counter from here the Western propaganda about what's happening here. And I think I've been arrested by pretty well every party to this conflict over the last 2 weeks. But fortunately, I shan't go into all the details, but eventually I managed to get media credentials. The Lebanese government will only accept mainstream media credentials. They wouldn't accept my credentials from Consortium News, for example, from any online publication. You've got to be from the BBC or the Wall Street Journal, which, of course, in itself automatically gives a huge bias to the kind of coverage coming out of Ukraine, coming out of Lebanon. Except, of course, those people aren't here anyway. The Wall Street Journal flew in for 3 days. The BBC and CNN have got no interest at all in reporting what's really happening here. They're in Tel Aviv reporting the Israeli spin on what's happening in Lebanon. And what's happening here are intense levels of bombardment. There are about 70,000 homes destroyed in the south of Lebanon. Approximately 70,000 homes have been destroyed. 1.2 million people are displaced. 450,000 of those have gone into Syria. A couple of 100,000 of those who could have got out into the west. And then there are about 600,000 people, refugees in Beirut and the north of the country. And Israel is simply carpet bombing. Israel is flattening the Shia districts. It continues its targeted attacks on Hezbollah figures, but much more importantly, it's targeting the refugee exodus, if you like. It's targeting, I was there 2 days ago at a site where they blew up a refugee aid center where refugees went to pick up food packages, and that was deliberate targeting. And they killed 5 people there and seriously injured 19 people and blew up a ton of aid. And they've blown up over 60 ambulances have been destroyed deliberately. Over 220 medics and paramedics have been killed. It's the Gaza playbook again. It's in the fairly early stages. So far, the total dead is 3,500. But that's still an awful lot of dead people. But they're doing it by the Gaza playbook. Hospitals, health centers, ambulances, medical workers, aid centers for refugees. And it's almost not reported at all in the West.
As well as the sort of social services that Hezbollah provides. And I'll just say this was a Hezbollah target, which sustain a large percentage of the population, the Shia population especially, which is much poorer than the rest of the population. Amos Hochstein was just in Beirut. Is he still there?
No, he's now in Tel Aviv, I think. He left Beirut last night.
So he's gone home to Tel Aviv in some sense because he's an Israeli citizen, a veteran of the Israeli military, and somehow this is the liaison or the envoy that the U.S. sends to negotiate a ceasefire. Here is Amos Hochstein in Starbucks their day in Beirut. And this is in an area in Beirut.
Wait.
I think this is like on the Corniche right on the Mediterranean. It's a wealthier area. I think it's like the Ain Maresi neighborhood. So you have a lot of kind of pro-U.S. lackeys, wealthier members of the Sunni population that hate Hezbollah, and they're sort of treating him as a celebrity and saying to the barista, "Don't charge him, don't charge him." This is one of the only Israelis that would be allowed in Lebanon at all.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when I came in, I spent about half an hour proving that I'd never been to Israel. Because if you've ever been to Israel, you're not allowed into the country. And yet here they're welcoming a former member of the Israeli Defense Forces. One of the problems when I was arrested for trying to do journalism without a permit, I do not have a permit, I should say. Well, when I was arrested, was they went through all the numbers on my telephone and they found one with a 972 code number, which of course is Israel, but is also the code number for occupied Palestine.
Right, right.
It was actually a Palestinian's phone number, but they that caused great trouble. Now, I mean, what Hochstein is doing is absolutely disgusting, and the position of the United States is absolutely disgusting because they are preparing the way for eventual Israeli annexation of southern Lebanon. The carpet bombing there, the incredible destruction. I mean, villages are being totally destroyed, as in every single structure in the village is being destroyed, and small towns, and even the city of Nakamatiyah. That they're just wiping it out like they're wiping out Gaza. And the idea is to make it uninhabitable. And the long-term plan, or even the medium to short-term plan, is Israeli annexation, and they are calling for Hezbollah to disarm and move north of the Litani River. But in the peace agreement, it says that Israel will be able, it doesn't even say Israel will be able to attack in response to any attack by Hezbollah. It says that Israel will be able to enter and attack Lebanon against imminent threat. So nothing has to have happened. Israel just needs to have decided there's an imminent threat. It means Israel can enter anytime they want, and that's in the peace deal. And the other thing in the so-called peace deal is that the United States is to be the guarantor, and the United States is to judge whether or not there really is an imminent threat. Which is again, the Lebanese would be crazy to sign up to this. There are, as you say, there are pro-Israeli elements in Lebanon. But my experience here is that those elements are not dominant. They're definitely not dominant, and they're shrinking. They're especially shrinking among younger people. And I'm staying here in a predominantly Christian area, and I've been here for nearly a month now, and got to know a lot of people. And undoubtedly, in this Christian area, the overwhelming sentiment is anti-Israeli, very anti-Israeli and anti-Zionist. And with young people in particular, but with everybody, the people here are just as horrified at the genocide in Gaza as everybody else. Everybody's seeing the same things on their mobile telephones. And the idea that that Lebanese Christians automatically support Israel, simply wrong. The large majority of them do not. And actually the ferocity of the Israeli attack on the south of the country, which has been indiscriminate, which has blasted Christian villages in the south as much as it's blasted Muslim villages in the south. The ferocity has helped actually, I think, reaffirm Lebanese identity. There's a minority of the Sunni, the extreme jihadist Sunnis, the al-Nusra, al-Qaeda supporting bunch, Saudi funded, and there's still Saudi influence through mosques, through Sunni mosques here, which is pro-Israeli and pro-American. But again, I don't think, and it's going to take me longer to be sure, but I don't think that's even the majority of the Sunni population now.
Well, let's talk about, because we led in with Amos Hochstein visiting. He's saying that there could be a ceasefire. We're looking right now at footage of Israeli soldiers destroying a village in southern Lebanon that is home to a 2,000-year-old shrine to the prophet Benjamin. This is the kind of destruction that they're visiting on holy sites, archaeological sites, and villages that well predate the modern apartheid regime of Israel. And Amos Hochstein, every time he comes to Lebanon or to the region, it seems to be followed by more vicious attacks on Beirut than usual. We saw in his previous visit, before the one which has him in Tel Aviv right now, he attempted to strong arm Nabi Berri, the parliamentary speaker in Lebanon, into accepting the onerous terms that you were describing earlier. And when he didn't, Israel attacked areas that were controlled by the Amal movement, which is allied with Hezbollah and represents the constituency of Berri. So it looked like a message from Amos Hochstein, who former UN official and whistleblower Craig Mokhiber has compared to Tom Hagen, the consigliere to Vito Corleone, the Godfather. What exactly does the U.S. want Lebanon to agree to, and will it even be possible within Lebanon's system?
Very hard to see how they can agree. It's worth noting, of course, that the United States is building its second largest embassy in the world here in
Yep.
Lebanon. And of course, people may wonder, I mean, Lebanon is a country of 5 million people. And it's not even a particularly wealthy country of 5 million people. People may wonder why the United States needs its second largest embassy in the whole world in Lebanon. And of course, that's a hub for all kinds of things, for intelligence activity, for the NSA, for special forces, and for exerting control more widely in the region. And the United States is constantly in play to absolutely control the Lebanese political system, which is where Hezbollah is for them the obstacle that needs to be removed, because Hezbollah is, of course, the largest political party in the country. We are seeing now exactly what you said. I mean, there were massive bombs in Beirut this morning. It felt and sounded larger than anything we've seen before recently. And at the moment, I'm sure your noise cancellation will take it out. But the drones are constant and incessant and very, very loud overhead today. There's several drones circling not far away from me at all. And this is terrorism to persuade Lebanon effectively to dismantle Hezbollah, which is what the United States' aim is. And I say, I mean, I've always believed that the United States has been firmly committed to the annexation to Greater Israel and to the annexation of Gaza, the annexation of the West Bank, and I believe that also extends to the annexation, at least, of southern Lebanon. And I think that is the end goal. And I've never understood that people fell at any stage for the Biden administration's talk of attempting to restrain Israel in Gaza, when the worse the worse the genocide got, the more money and the more weapons they gave them. Actions speak a great deal louder than words, and here, the bombs that are killing Lebanese children here in Beirut overnight will be American bombs given by the American people, not sold, given. So yeah, we're back in that playbook again, which is you try to devastate the country and terrorize the population until they accept your terms. And ultimately, I believe the United States is attempting to restart the civil war and get the other populations to turn on Hezbollah. But I also genuinely believe that's not working. I do think what the United States is doing here is helping forge a new and stronger Lebanese national identity, especially among younger people.
Yeah, we saw the U.S. ambassador to Lebanon actually hold meetings with, I think, Samir Jaja of Lebanese forces, who's a U.S. ally or tool, and other forces opposed to Hezbollah, and actually encourage them to kind of rise up and take the initiative, which sounds like civil war talk, but Lebanese people are rejecting it. Do you think the attacks, the indiscriminate attacks, are actually causing more unity and possibly support, like we saw in 2006 for Hezbollah, outside of their normal sectarian support base?
Yeah, I'm quite sure that's true. I had dinner with some people from major political families in Lebanon, not the heads of the family, but members of major political families in Lebanon, none of whom were Shia, and all of them were saying that they are in the current crisis. They support Hezbollah. They support Hezbollah against Israel. There's a great deal of anger in the country that the Lebanese army is not participating, and that anger was expressed to me by quite a few rather unexpected people. They, but no, they people are getting behind Hezbollah. People from out with the Shia community in the fight between Israel and Hezbollah. People side with Hezbollah because they are defending the country, and nobody else is defending the country.